Initially, during the day, I had just brushed hands with my autistic younger sister. When I arrived, she abruptly snuck right under my covers. And as a result, by the very next day, the entire wealthy aristocratic family was frantically searching for the eldest miss, who supposedly had never dared to step a foot outside her room, yet suddenly vanished into thin air mysteriously. But who could have ever predicted that? She was actually hiding away right inside my bed. Why are you here? System, didn't you claim that she detests crowds and never steps outside her home? Jiangchen, what on earth are you doing that is your own younger sister? How could you possibly do something like that, someone whose very birth mother finds utterly repulsive? What gives you the right to be liked by Ruan Ruan? Oh dear Ruan Ruan, be a good girl now. Come over here to Daddy. There are just way too many people. It's far too noisy and she hates it so much. It's gonna be alright, just relax. And don't be afraid a miracle is. My voice had barely faded away. Tan Ruan Ruan's delicate body instantly went completely limp. Tanzei immediately directed a desperate gaze begging for help right at me. I gave a firm nod, signaling that I completely understood. Ruan Ruan, go on back to your daddy now. Tan Ruan Ruan looked just a little bit dazed, unable to fathom why I had abruptly pushed her away as she watched me step down off the bed. She instantly panicked and cried out, Brother Chun, you and Ruan Ruan will both come with me to my study leaving. Aside those two individuals whose eyes were burning red with jealousy over, there I had just lifted my foot to take a step forward when Ruan Ruan acted just like a tiny, clinging tail and tightly grabbed hold of the hem of my shirt. Inside the study, Tanzei finally laid all his cards flat on the table. My marriage to your mother was solely meant to give Ruan Ruan a warm and complete home. As you can clearly see for yourself, this is the absolute first time that Ruan Ruan has ever grown this close to anyone, surpassing even her own biological mother from back in the day. Therefore, to my boy, could you possibly help? Ruan Ruan out, so that the poor girl can finally live just like a normal person. I recalled her horrifying and tragic end within the original storyline, and my heart suddenly sank heavily, driven entirely by sheer instinct. I immediately grasped her hand tightly. The young girl seemed to instinctively sense my turbulent emotions, her vacant eyes staring blankly at me as she slowly reached out. Rubik's Cube that she regarded as her very life right in front of me. I'm not going to take it from you. Keep it safe yourself. Dun Ruan Ruan. All of a sudden wilted as she lowered her head to gaze at the cube in her hands. Her eyes brimming with utter confusion. Does he really dislike it? Even though this was already the absolute best possession I had, I paid no more attention to her. Instead, turning my head to look solemnly right at Tanzei, Uncle, I agree to your proposal. I will guide and mentor Tan Ruan Ruan properly. Tansha instantly became overjoyed beyond measure. Tan Ruan Ruan seemed to grasp the fact that I was going to stay, becoming so excited that the tips of her ears turned fiery red once more as she stubbornly shoved the Rubik's Cube in my hands, because she had just discovered something far more fascinating than a Rubik's Cube, something even infinitely more important. The very next second, the young girl lunged straight into my embrace, clinging tightly like a tiny kitten as she frantically rubbed against my chest while I gently stroked her head, and had no choice but to tuck the cube into my pocket from that day onward. My everyday life underwent a complete and total transformation, coaxing her to sleep and feeding her meals. Right behind my back, there was always a tiny little shadow trailing after me, refusing to budge an inch, yet this peaceful bliss did not last for very long. While I was right in the middle of eating, the butler rushed over in a panic. Sir, the young miss is refusing to eat her meal once again. Danzes eating movements suddenly paused as his intense gaze immediately snapped right toward me. Only then did I suddenly recall that this morning I had stepped out for just a brief moment. She must be having another relapse as I set my chopsticks down, saying I'll go take a look, but the moment I stood back up, from behind there came the sharp sound of chopsticks slamming violently down against the table with a loud crash. It was my nominal mother, Xiang, and as she flew into a furious rage, I didn't even bother to spare her a single glance, simply turning my head and walking straight upstairs. Just as I stepped foot inside Tan Ruan Ruan's bedroom, A wave of gloomy and stifling air instantly hit me in the face. Faintly visible in the dark corner of the room, Tan Ruan was sitting all alone by herself over there. The meal on the table remained completely untouched. I walked closer and gazed down at her. "Are you refusing to pay any more attention to me now?" I immediately figured it out. This was all because I had dared to step outside. That was precisely why she threw a tantrum. "I'll be heading outside now." The moment my words left my mouth, Tan Ruan instantly snapped her head up in sheer panic. Without a second thought, she lunged straight into my arms desperately, trying to bury herself inside my chest while her body was actually trembling. It turned out she thought I was abandoning her for good. My heart suddenly melted as I gently stroked her hair and spoke in an exceptionally tender voice. "Next time I step outside, I promise I'll let you know beforehand. All right, now, let's go eat your meal." Tan Ruan's entire body suddenly stiffened up. Why is Brother Chun treating me so wonderfully? It actually feels rather comforting. I pulled her right over to the dining table. Eat up like a good girl, she began eating at a sluggish pace, her eyes continuously darting to steal glances at me after being caught. Red-handed, she looked just like a frightened little fawn, caught in the headlights, hurriedly lowering her gaze, not daring to peek ever again. Right at that exact second, the system nearly choked with laughter. "Master, if I didn't mishear a single thing. Just a moment ago, she wasn't trying to kiss you. At all, rather, she was calling out for Shun Shun." "Oh, I wore a completely expressionless face, you misheard. Why don't you do us both a favor and just shut your trap?" Ruan finished eating half a bowl of porridge and proceeded to rub her delightfully round belly. Gazing up at me with eyes sparkling brilliantly, my heart suddenly melted. Down as I reached out to pat her head, "Wonderful job." She immediately squinted her eyes in pure comfort, resembling a pampered feline thoroughly satisfied. Yet right at this very moment, I abruptly noticed, deep within those brightly gleaming eyes of hers, a fleeting trace of absolute possessiveness flashed past that I had never seen before. The young girl tilted her head back to look at me, her expression flustered as she managed to squeak out a single word, "Wanting." I pressed further, "Wanting what exactly?" As a result, she abruptly grew clingy and plastered herself right against me, wanting kisses to soothe her fragile emotional state. After agreeing to let her move into my bedroom, the little girl immediately nodded eagerly with shining eyes and scurried off by herself, obediently riding the elevator downstairs. However, the moment I made my way back down to the first floor, the three people at the dining table were somehow still not finished eating. It was blatantly obvious they were all waiting specifically for me. I glanced at Tan Zhe, who was watching with eager anticipation, and gave a nod. She has already eaten her meal, causing Tan Zhe to instantly beam with joy, his gaze looking at me becoming even more approving, as a ridiculous thought suddenly popped into his mind. Such an exceptional young man. Why on earth isn't he my son-in-law already? Oh wait, this is actually my own son. The very next second, he waved his hand toward me, beckoning. "Come sit over here with Daddy." I had just taken a bite of rice and nearly choked on it. But considering the fact that he was the father of my precious Ruan, I still carried my bowl of rice and sat over there, an entire scene that left Xiang Yin and Fang Yiqi so furious their faces turned green. Especially Fang Yiqi, deep down in his heart. He was burning with blinding jealousy. All he did was manage to butter up Tan Ruan, and his status skyrocketed instantly. So if he did the exact same thing, wouldn't he succeed too? The very next second, he put on a thoughtful expression and chimed in, "Dad, I feel like Big Brother Chun has been working way too hard taking care of Ruan." My eyelid twitched slightly. What on earth is this punk plotting? What if in the future little Ruan constantly clings on to Big Brother Chun like this? It would be terribly inconvenient for him. How about we let Ruan interact and socialize with other people more often to divert and scatter her attention away? Tan Zhe's expression darkened noticeably, yet he realized there was actually some sense to those words. Fang Yiqi was overjoyed upon seeing this and immediately volunteered himself. "That I can easily spend a lot more time keeping little Ruan company." Unexpectedly, Tan Zhe merely took a sip of his soup and casually spat out a single word. Sure, go ahead. You dare try playing? This little trick right in front of me, huh? I stared coldly at Fang Yiqi, before icily summoning the system in my mind. Where's the female lead? Go ahead and let them get acquainted early, don't worry, host. Consider it completely handled. A few seconds later, the system transmitted a notification, all done. Host, why on earth? Did you suddenly decide to let the male and female leads meet so early? I cast a sideways glance at Fang Yiqi, who was grinning foolishly and answered with just 4 simple words. He is simply an eyesore. Barely after finishing up our meal, I was abruptly called aside by Xiang Yan. She gazed at me with an immensely complicated look filled with envy, while simultaneously plotting to exploit me for her own gain. Abruptly, she forced out a fake smile. Chin, my boy. It's been ages since Mother last had a proper chat with you. Mother has always loved you dearly, you know, as I instantly took a step backward, my expression laced with utter confusion. Did you lose your mind tonight, or something? Xiang Yan's smile instantly froze right on her face. Yet I had no spare time to waste entertaining her nonsense. Little Ruan was still waiting for me upstairs, but she stubbornly blocked my path, nagging on and on without any intention of stopping. My patience completely wore thin as I demanded of the system. System, can I just beat her up no matter what? She is still the original host's birth mother anyway, and honestly teaching her a lesson wouldn't hurt. The very next second, I directly issued a mental command. Little hammer, get out here. A phantom meteor hammer instantly materialized right behind Xiang Yan, just as she was still in the middle of her endless ramblings. Her lower back suddenly suffered a sharp, agonizing jolt. Stop hitting me, she whipped her head around and shrieked in ear-piercing terror. Yet behind her back there wasn't a single soul in sight. Xiang Yan gazed toward me, full of suspicious doubt. Did you see anyone hit your mother? I shook my head slightly and uttered a single word the moment my voice faded. Little hammer went bam with a loud thud, smacking fiercely right against the back of her neck once more. Xiang Yan stared around in absolute horror and panic, still finding nobody anywhere around. Her complexion turned completely pale white, suddenly recalling what a fortune teller had warned her about. Evil spirits, she immediately bought into it by a solid 70 or 80%. This house is haunted and completely unclean. You better leave right now. Xiang Yan didn't dare linger for another second, waving her hands, frantically urging me to scram as I cast a sideways glance at her panicked, frantic fleeing figure, before turning around and heading straight upstairs. Who could have expected that just as I reached the second floor, I'd bump right into Fang Yiqi, strolling directly out of my bedroom. His face looked as dark as charcoal, resembling someone who had just swallowed a live housefly. Just like that, the two of us locked eyes in awkward silence. He let out a cold snore of disdain before turning on his heel and storming off. Puzzled, I pushed open the door and stepped inside only to find Tan Ruan curled up tightly into a little ball sitting right there on the sofa. Upon hearing the noise, she instantly looked up at me with aggrieved, tearful eyes. The room was in a bit of disarray, and I immediately figured out exactly what had just transpired. She stretched out her little arms and whimpered softly, wanting hugs. My heart instantly softened as I stepped forward and pulled her tightly into my embrace. The little girl shivered violently within my arms, taking quite a while before she finally calmed down. The scent radiating from my body was extremely comforting, completely unlike Fang Yiqi, whose mere fragrance made her feel instantly nauseous at this very moment. She abruptly raised her head up, gazing at me with glistening, sparkling eyes, her tongue lightly tracing her plump, crimson lips, her tiny hands tightly gripping my shirt with eyes filled with profound longing. Can I kiss you? Seeing her acting like this, I nodded. Of course you can. Who would have expected that she would grow even more flustered, standing there dazed, completely unsure of what she ought to do, her face flushing bright red out of sheer anxiety. Jiang Chun is truly utterly shameless. Does he not even realize by himself what kind of relationship he has with Tan Ruan anyway? To think he would willingly spend all day revolving around someone who clearly has mental issues. If Dad were to ever find out, would Jiang Chun still be able to cling on to Little sister Ruan day in and day out like this. I simply cannot wait another single second. I want nothing more than to witness the sight of Jiangshun getting thrown out of the house by Tanzei. Right after Fong Ichi departed, the system's notification chimed in instantly. Host Fong Ichi has already returned. He just witnessed the two of you kissing each other. My eyelids drooped slightly downward as I gently widened the distance between us just a bit. I know the system panicked if he goes and snitches on you. Tanzei will definitely try to stop you and the soul fragment from meeting. My voice remained calm, yet carried an unquestionable certainty. He won't be able to stop me. At all, the system instantly fell silent. At this point, Ruan was left completely dazed and dreamy from the kiss, unwillingly wrapping her arms around my neck, still demanding me. I had no choice but to plant another kiss upon her softly pouting lips. Be a good girl now, you need to get some rest. Yet she merely opened her wide, pitch-black eyes, glistening with watery tears, staring intently straight into my eyes like that. I reached out with my finger to poke her forehead, trying to push her away. Unexpectedly, she comfortably leaned even closer instead, signaling me to keep on. Poking away, I was completely out of options with her, and could only gently stroke her head while coaxing her to sleep. We can keep kissing next time, all right? At this point, she was finally satisfied, obediently crawling up onto the bed and tucking herself in snugly beneath the covers. Wait a minute, isn't this supposed to be my own bedroom? The very next second, Ruan gently lifted her head up, looking at me with a bewildered expression before patting the empty spot right beside her. Brother Chun sleeping together once is no different from sleeping together twice. And besides, we already slept in the same bed last time anyway, while Fong Ichi was walking in a hurried stride straight toward the study room of Tanzei. The moment Tanzei found out about all the things Jiangshun had been doing with Ruan, he would definitely forbid the two of them from ever interacting again. When Tanzei heard the loud knocking at his door, having just hung up a phone call made by Du Yuan, his current mood was already rather irritated. Come in, Dad, it's me, Ichi. If you have something to say, spit it out quickly. Dad, are you busy right now? Are you blind or something? Can't you see all these stacks of documents about to pile up into a mountain right here now that Ruan finally has big brother Chun looking after her? Tanzei had already felt a considerable weight lifted off his shoulders. Yet recently some sudden troubles had unexpectedly cropped up at the company. Therefore, Tanzei's current mood was genuinely not very pleasant at all. Is there something you need? Fong Ichi nodded and replied, Dad. Earlier I went over to check on little sister Ruan. You have a good heart for trying? Upon hearing anything related to Ruan, Tanzei's expression immediately softened by a few shades. Fong Ichi felt a lingering trace of resentment. If it had been Jiangshun instead, Tanzei would surely be wearing a completely different expression right now, wouldn't he? Yet thinking about the words he was about to spill next, Fong Ichi suddenly felt an overwhelming sense of gleeful triumph as he put on a sorrowful act, saying, Dad, little sister Ruan still doesn't seem to grow very close to someone like me. Tanzei's tone carried a hint of perfunctory dismissal that's only natural. After all, I am the old man who spawned her, and she doesn't even get close to me either. Fong Ichi's facial expression turned rather unsightly. Dad, you really know how to say the most hurtful things. Father, the way you talk is truly unbearable to hear. I truly envy Big Brother Chun. Little sister Ruan just clings onto him constantly without letting go. Indeed, Big Brother Chun is truly such an obedient child, holy crap. This story simply cannot go on like this anymore. He drew a deep, heavy breath. That's right, this time, I even witnessed Big Brother Chun embracing little sister Ruan tightly in his arms too. Big Brother Chun even kissed her directly. However, Dad, I feel like Big Brother Chun and little sister Ruan, even though they're siblings, isn't doing something like that far too excessively intimate. Already, what did you just say? Big Brother Chun and Ruan kissed each other, you say? Yes, indeed, right inside Big Brother Chun's bedroom. The corners of Fong Ichi's mouth were practically stretching all the way up to his ears already. Tanzei's facial expression carried a hint of suppressed fury. as he glared sharply toward Fang Yiqi. This matter must absolutely never be spoken of outside. Fang Yi. She caught sight of Tan Zai's expression and nodded with satisfaction, pretending to look bewildered as he said, "I'll listen to you, Dad," waiting until the moment Fang Yiqi finally departed. Tan Zai ultimately burst out into sheer euphoric joy. Is Big Brother Chen actually about to become my own son-in-law? Shouldn't I present my future son-in-law with some kind of welcoming gift or something? Let's see what would be best to give him. After pondering for a brief moment, Tan Zai suddenly felt a wave of uneasy doubt. What if Big Brother Chen simply regards the little girl as a younger sister? And just because the poor child's mind isn't entirely clear, making her rather pitiable. Did he only get close to her out of comfort, perhaps? Tan Zai calmed himself down before sinking back into his chair, his heart pounding with excitement while his hands trembled so much he couldn't review the documents anymore. No way, I have to go ask and clear this up right now. Should my boy come out here and talk with me for a moment? Yes, Dad. Fang Yiqi wore an expression as if he had predicted this outcome, all along flashing a gloating grin as he taunted Big Brother Chen. Later, if Dad ends up cursing you out with harsh words, please make sure you don't lose your temper. All right, whatever. Watching my calm and composed, departing back Fang Yiqi felt like he had just thrown a powerful punch straight into a fluffy pillow. Ichi, did something happen? What's going on, Mom? There's nothing special going on at all. It's probably just that Big Brother Chen messed up and did something wrong. Xiang Yin didn't bother asking any further. For one, she was already used to ignoring whatever concerned me. And two, was if I ended up getting chewed out and scolded, she would feel even more gleeful and amused. By the time I arrived at Tan Zai's office, he was currently racking his brain, trying to figure out how to subtly ask about my true feelings and perspective regarding Tan Ruan. Should my boy, have you eaten yet? I've already eaten. All right, this question sounded rather foolish indeed. Yet Big Brother Chen was still able to answer in such a serious manner. I like you even more now than before. Don't be too nervous, my boy. I glanced sideways at Tan Zai, who was continuously rubbing his hands together. I'm not nervous at all, Dad. The system was practically going crazy, laughing its head off, honestly. Ruan's dad is actually quite adorable, isn't he? So my boy, what do you think of our Ruan? I pondered the question seriously for a brief moment. She is very soft, very obedient, and on top of that, extremely adorable. I'm very satisfied with her. She has always been exceptionally wonderful. Is that really all? Tan Zai was fully prepared to listen to more of my thoughts. When my expression suddenly stiffened up, he watched my completely unyielding and unchanging face as his emotions abruptly grew deeply complicated. They always say that young men, whenever they mention someone they fancy, will unconsciously break into a smile. Could it be that Big Brother Chen doesn't actually like Tan Ruan at all? Well, that makes sense too when you think about it. Our little girl truly doesn't resemble a normal person after all. Ruan might very well remain like this for the rest of her life. And I can't possibly drag an innocent young man down with her. No matter what happens, Jiang Chen, this exceptional young fellow right here, is someone I still find very pleasing to the eye. Therefore, a gift must still be presented. Let's just consider it a welcoming gift from a father-in-law to his son-in-law. All right, Chen, my boy. Is there any particular item you've been wanting to buy? I originally thought, Tan Zai, some of me here this time around, surely to toss $1 million check right in my face and bark, "You punk, get the hell away from my daughter right now." Yet Tan Zai instead kept asking the most bizarre questions imaginable, and even insisted on giving me a present. On top of all that, what kind of insane script twist is this even supposed to be? The system pondered for a brief second before stating, hold on. Even if he did want to toss a check around, at the very absolute least, it would have to be $10 million. To match his status, right? My eyes lit up slightly. Is he really that insanely wealthy? The system immediately ran a quick background check. He might honestly be even wealthier than the host could ever possibly imagine. I turned my head to look squarely at Tan Zai. Uncle, how on earth did you make all your money anyway? This brat is truly as bold as they come. Can I seriously just go ahead and spill my company's biggest business secrets like that? Perhaps noticing the deadly serious expression on my face, which perfectly exuded a humble demeanor, eager for guidance, Tan Zai's heart instantly melted away into mush. even though company matters couldn't be carelessly blurted out. Big Brother Chun was clearly in desperate need of money right now. Well, to be completely honest, I wasn't actually lacking anything. It's just that I wanted to accumulate massive amounts of wealth to reach the absolute peak of my life. That being said, Tan Zhe pondered for a brief moment. You could always try playing the stock market. Trading stocks carries an extremely high risk, but at the very same time, you can also rake in a massive fortune in. The blink of an eye, Tan Zhe pulled up the stock exchange table for me to see. Look at these few stock tickers continuously surging in price. Take a look. The upward momentum of these particular stocks is exceptionally strong. I gave a subtle nod, yet my gaze immediately drifted all the way down to the very bottom, stopping dead on a certain redline stock symbol. Tan Zhe followed my gaze with a sideways look. That particular stock ticker is extremely unstable. It keeps fluctuating up and down constantly, and the risk factor is off the charts. Tan Zhe paused to reflect for another moment. Buying stocks still requires a substantial amount of capital, though. Chun, my boy, do you even have any money? If you don't, then why don't I just lend you some? I do have some, Dad. Tan Zhe noticed me staring intensely, and his heart once again turned as soft as a puddle of noodles. So, just how much money does Big Brother Chun have saved up? He already had a rough idea of my impoverished background prior to this, and assumed if I claimed to have money, it would only amount to a few thousand, or at most tens of thousands of yuan. I pulled out my phone and handed it to him to show my account balance. Is there really this much? There are way too many zeros here. I couldn't even be bothered to count them anymore. Tan Zhe stared wide-eyed at the 8-digit deposit figure. Where on earth did all this money come from? I snatched my phone back and swiftly tapped away with lightning speed on his personal office computer. By the time Tan Zhe finally snapped back to his senses, it was already way too late. Chun, my boy, that green-tinted stock ticker you just selected. It's completely fine, Big Brother. Chun surely didn't buy too much of it, right? I bought them all. Using every single penny. What an absolute prodigal spendthrift. Yet, oh well, this young man still doesn't know any better. It's only a matter of a few million yuan anyway. If he loses his own hard-earned money, let's just consider it bad luck. If Big Brother Chun ever doesn't have enough spending money, just come find Dad. Right here, I felt like this uncle of mine was genuinely a good person. So before departing, I paused to ponder for a brief moment and decided to offer him some advice, advising him to find some free time and divorce Xiang Yan already. Her fate is thoroughly cursed. She brings bad luck to her husbands. You know, the very first time I laid eyes on Xiang Yan, I saw straight through the fact that her two previous husbands, how did they end up dying anyway? They were all cursed to death by her misfortune. Tan Zhe sat in silence as he gazed after my departing back. Are these two really biological mother and son? They are practically sworn enemies sent to torture each other. Lost in deep thought for a short while, he suddenly recalled all the troublesome headaches at the company lately. Could it be that Xiang Yin truly brings a death curse upon her husbands? Tan Zhe hurriedly shook his head, feeling like this whole notion was somewhat laughable. Since when did I start believing in such superstitious nonsense, anyway? Furthermore, having already married Xiang, and she hasn't actually committed any major unforgivable sins yet, so I will absolutely not cast her aside so arbitrarily. I walked out of Tan Zhe's office and made my way back toward my own room the moment I stepped foot across the threshold. A figure resembling a clingy koala bear, carrying a soft, warm, and delicate body latched tightly onto me. Tan Ruan let out a sleepy yawn, following the trail of my familiar scent as she acted spoiled and clingy. Where did Brother Chun go? The little girl did not want me to leave her side. Not even for a single minute did she want to let go. I pondered quietly for a moment, sensing that by now her mental condition had improved quite significantly. We could probably try letting her interact with other people besides just me. Once she finished washing her face and changing her clothes, I immediately took her by the hand and led her downstairs. Initially, she remained exceptionally well-behaved and docile, right until the elevator kept descending downward, while I remained standing completely outside the elevator doors. Tan Ruan instantly started panicking. Why on earth is Brother Chun letting me go down all by himself? Is Brother Chun planning on abandoning and throwing me away? Tan Ruan pounded her tiny hands against the glass surface of the transparent elevator, Brother Chen, please don't leave me all alone behind. Don't ever abandon me, please. Host, won't doing something like this be a bit too harsh and forced? Oh my goodness, Ruan looks so utterly pitiful and heartbroken. Hashi, how could that possibly be? I'm going to stand right at the top of the stairs to keep an eye on her. Thinking that, I immediately began walking toward the staircase. Tan Ruan could only widen her eyes in utter shock, watching my face slowly fade away right before her very eyes, huddled up defensively inside a corner filled with complete bewilderment. The elevator descended all the way down to the first floor with a soft chime, signaling the elevator doors to slide open as a ding echoed out, bringing the chatter of the domestic servants outside the villa courtyard. She sat down, squatting in fear within the elevator corner, crying out, Brother Chun, why did you leave me all alone here by myself? Aunt Huan was currently busy bustling about inside the kitchen, vaguely hearing the mechanical movement of the elevator descending, yet failing to hear the sound of anyone stepping out. Puzzled, she walked outside to take a look, only to catch sight of the frail and slender figure of the young lady curled up tightly, right in the corner, as Aunt Huan jumped in a sudden startle and instantly wanted to step forward to pull the girl up, yet remembering the young Mrs. unpredictable and volatile temper. Why are you all by yourself down here? Where is Big Brother Chun? Brother Chun doesn't want me anymore. She's truly not around here at all. The moment those words finished, the heartbroken and grievance-filled sobbing of the young maiden could be clearly heard, sounding so tragic it tore straight through Aunt Huan's heartstrings. Why would Big Brother Chun abandon and leave the young miss all by herself like this? Yet Big Brother Chun didn't strike her as someone who lacked consideration like that at all. Tan Ruan's soft, pathetic whimpering very quickly managed to attract the attention of Feng Yiqi and Xiang Yan, drawing them over in a hurry. The moment Feng Yiqi caught sight of Tan Ruan, he immediately recalled her previous ferocious and intensely hateful demeanor toward him. His adoptive father had already laid out the truth clearly to Jiang Chun regarding this matter. Therefore, Jiang Chun must have been kicked out and banished by now, which was why little sister Ruan was grieving this intensely. His eyes suddenly lit up brilliantly as he stepped forward, taking 2 paces while speaking in an excessively gentle voice. Ruan, my dear little sister, even if Big Brother Chun was forced to leave you behind, you still have me by your side, and you also have Mom and Dad plus Aunt Huan as well. Everyone here will treat you exceptionally well. Xiang Yin felt rather bewildered upon hearing that. Is Jiang Chun really about to leave? The words spoken by the two of them completely and utterly provoked poor Tan Ruan. Just as Xiang Yin finished speaking, the soft whimpers that were previously tightly suppressed by the young girl suddenly erupted into clear, heart-wrenching sobbing. She froze up instantly, hurriedly trying to deny any blame. It wasn't my fault, she started, crying. All right, I had been standing and waiting at the top of the stairs for quite a while without seeing anyone come up, and was starting to feel rather annoyed by the hassle. Host, why don't we head downstairs and check out what's going on? Absolutely not. If I were to go down there, Tan Ruan would immediately start clinging on to me tighter than ever for sure. Abruptly, the sorrowful crying of the young maiden echoed over once again, as she realized that I, who had originally been standing motionlessly right in place, had vanished without a single trace in the blink of an eye. I'm about to go check it out, Aunt Huan was panicking and completely at her wits' end, wondering what on earth should be done about this situation now. The young miss had never cried and wailed like this before. Right while she was so flustered, she was practically losing her mind. She suddenly caught sight of my silhouette approaching. Aunt Huan cried out in absolute joy, "Look, the young miss. Big Brother Chun has arrived." Tan Ruan was completely oblivious to all the surrounding sounds. She only remembered someone saying that Big Brother Chun was going to leave her. Big Brother Chun had lied to her. Big Brother Chun was never going to stay by her side ever again. I quickened my pace and strode closer swiftly, crouching down right beside her. Why on earth are you crying like this? Tan Ruan's body stiffened up slightly as she lifted her head, weeping so hard both her eyes and nose were completely red and swollen. Brother Chun, she whimpered, trying to pout in grievance before lunging straight into my arms. Please don't leave me behind as I gently patted her back, speaking in an exceptionally gentle and soothing voice. There, I'm not going anywhere. You're a big liar. Just a moment ago, I was standing right up there on the stairs watching you the whole time. I didn't abandon or desert you at all. It is exceedingly rare for me to show this much patience in explaining things. Tan Ruan finally managed to stop crying at last, her exhausted face leaning entirely against my chest. Are you tired out? I scooped her up horizontally into my arms and carried her back to her room. The three people standing around watched me with deeply complicated expressions. Aunt Huan felt somewhat hard-pressed to believe it. Even if they didn't share any actual blood relations whatsoever, wouldn't such intimate behavior be considered a bit inappropriate? Yet young Miss Ruan loves Big Brother Chun to such an absolute extreme after all. If the two of them were to end up together, that would still be far better than letting her live out her life all alone. Furthermore, even the master of the house didn't utter a single word of complaint, and after all, she was ultimately just a domestic servant. So she kept to herself, young Master Jiang. Next time, could you please be a bit more careful and mindful with what you do? And absolutely never leave the young miss all by herself like that again. I held her tightly within the embrace of my arms, while Ruan's tiny hands clenched firmly onto my clothes. Understood, I just reached out my hand to press the elevator button, when Xiang Yin quickly darted forward with sharp eyes and blocked my path. Do you even have any idea what on earth you think you're doing? If she hadn't witnessed it with her own two eyes, she never would have believed I dared to go seduce that mental patient alongside. Dan Ruan. Do you have any concept of what kind of catastrophic consequences your actions will cause? All three of them are going to be kicked straight out, on their asses, and banished from this household by Tan Zhe. I casually gave a gentle shove, sending Xiang Yin stumbling forward as she tripped and fell awkwardly out of the elevator. She wore an expression of complete and utter bewilderment, staring up at me with a blank gaze. You dare lay a hand on your own biological mother? You're such an absolute pain in the ass. Fang Yiqi glared fiercely at me with burning hatred in his eyes. Why on earth hasn't this bastard been kicked out and fired yet? How in the world does he still have the audacity to act so high and mighty around Tan Ruan? What kind of garbage father is Tan Zhe acting like anyway? How could he be heartless enough to let a hungry wolf like this covet and drool over his own biological daughter like this? Consumed by overwhelming rage, Fang Yiqi didn't even bother to spare a single shred of concern for comforting Xiang Yin as he stood there blankly, watching me carry Tan Ruan straight up to the upper floor. Consumed by a blazing fury of burning rage, Fang Yiqi stormed out and left the house. Fuxing is the most famous and luxurious bar in all of Huaqing, a place reeking of money, extravagance, and wild indulgence, bathed in hazy, seductive purple lighting. The sheer cost of spending money here is terrifyingly astronomical, earning it a reputation as the most notorious wealth-devouring vortex in Huaqing if it were back. In the past, Fang Yiqi would only ever dare to dream about it, or listen to his friends bragging and fantasizing, while deluding himself about what this paradise of ultimate pleasure actually looked like. Yet right now he finally had money in his pockets, riding the coattails of the wealthy Tan family. Was there anywhere left in this world that he wouldn't dare to show his face? His previous plan to hug a wealthy thigh and climb the social ladder had failed miserably, leaving Fang Yiqi feeling utterly furious and aggrieved. He chugged down several glasses of alcohol in a single breath handed over by the bartender, as a few sensuously dressed and provocative girls swayed seductively over to him. Little brother, why did you come all the way here to drink all by yourself? Did he seriously still need to drag along those rustic, penniless losers who couldn't amount to anything, like he used to in the past? He would never waste his hard-earned money on those losers. The proactive advances of these girls made Fang Yiqi feel somewhat intoxicated and immensely proud of himself. Clearly, Tan Ruan was just blind and lacked any taste whatsoever. Otherwise, normal women everywhere would naturally be head over heels obsessed with him anyway, struggling to suppress the overwhelming arrogance swelling up inside his heart. Fang Yiqi put on a serious face and warned them, "Listen up, girls. You better pay attention and hear this loud and clear. I'm not just some casual, easygoing man you can mess with. Humph. This little brother is just too cute and amusing." Not too far away, Yan Lingxue tilted her head back and slammed down an entire glass of red wine in one gulp. Ever since Fang Yiqi had stepped foot inside the bar, she had already locked her eyes on him. It was truly bizarre and inexplicable. He obviously didn't look particularly handsome, nor did he possess any outstanding traits whatsoever. If anything, he even looked kind of foolish upon closer inspection. Yet for some inexplicable reason tonight, why on earth would a loser like him show up at Fuxing Bar? No matter what the case was, she had recognized him instantly with just a single glance. Listening closely to the drifting conversation coming from over there, Yan Lingxue let out a faint, mocking chuckle, her gaze revealing a deep and biting sarcasm. How utterly foolish and pathetic. She could see right through those petty, shallow little schemes of his with just a single glance. Yan Lingxue felt a sudden wave of boredom, setting her wine glass down upon the bar counter and preparing to take her leave. Yet the moment she took 2 steps forward, she heard a loud commotion and an unmistakable racket erupting from across the room. Fang Yiqi was also getting ready to settle his bill and head home. However, after the waiter swiped his credit card, the staff member's expression turned rather bizarre. "Sir, the balance on your card is insufficient to cover this transaction." How on earth could something like that possibly happen? This card was personally handed over to him by Tan Zhe. After all, his daily allowance came equipped with a steady stream of funds, reaching up to 30,000 yuan a day. How could there possibly be an insufficient balance issue, Fang? Yiqi grew slightly panicked as he stared down at the billing receipt. A single glass of alcohol cost anywhere from 8,000 up to 30,000 yuan, and it didn't even have any price ceiling limits whatsoever. Yet he had foolishly and drunkenly guzzled down 7 or 8 glasses in a row, and that damn bartender was completely intentional in pouring the most expensive kinds of liquor for him. Fang Yiqi's facial expression turned extraordinarily ugly and grim. Yet he refused to place any blame on others for intentionally serving him expensive drinks, nor did he blame himself for running wild out of sheer ignorance. Instead, he shifted all the blame onto Tan Zhe for being overly biased, daring to give a son like him such a pathetic amount of pocket money that it wasn't even enough to pay for a few drinks. If the person who came here today had been Jiang Chun, would a mortifying incident like this have ever happened to begin with? The girls standing around nearby suddenly grew bored and disillusioned. Just as they were about to slip away, they accidentally stumbled upon this juicy drama. The ringleader of the group wore an arrogant expression. "You're a professional bartender. Why on earth are you trying to bully our adorable little younger brother like this?" Fang Yiqi felt somewhat mortified and embarrassed, lowering his head shyly in shame, while simultaneously harboring secret gratitude toward the person who helped him pay off the tab. "What the hell? I'm only collecting standard service charges here. Just take the card and run it already." "Yes, sir, right away, as long as the funds clear into the account. Then even if you ask me to unclog a toilet on my head, I would gladly accept it with a smile." "Into the account. Then even if you ask me to unclog a toilet onto my head, I would gladly accept it with a smile." Fang Yiqi cast a grateful look toward that girl. "Thank you truly so much, sister. You are honestly such a wonderful person." "Of course, darling, since such an adorable little brother was getting bullied, anyone in my shoes would have stepped in to help out. Are you getting ready to head home now? Do you need me to give you a ride for a bit?" No, thank you, that won't be necessary." These particular girls' appearances did not appeal to his aesthetic standards in the slightest. He genuinely didn't have the slightest bit of interest whatsoever. The other girl's expression suddenly darkened. "Didn't you just praise me as a good person a moment ago? So what's wrong with letting me take you home then?" By this point, they had long since pegged Fang Yiqi as some pathetic, broke sugar baby who still had the audacity to sneak into these high-end places to gold dig. "I've already stripped off my clothes and gotten ready, yet now you dare try to pull this stunt on me." Fang Yiqi's intuition warned him that something bad was brewing. "Apologies I still have. some matters to attend to, so I'll be taking my leave first. But the other girls quickly surrounded and blocked his path. Fong Ichi started panicking, his eyes turning to cast a pleading gaze toward the waitstaff. His expression of desperate begging was crystal clear. Please save me. Sorry, pal, I'm just a guy who likes to bully others. You know, Fong Ichi's face clearly revealed intense resentment. Could it be that they didn't see a customer of the bar getting bullied and harassed right here? How could they possibly be so cold-blooded? Right as that woman's hand was about to grope and touch all over his body, Ichi suddenly caught sight of a slender, yet powerful hand gripping her wrist tightly. If you know what's good for you, you better stop right there. A woman's voice rang out, filled with icy coldness. Just hearing it gave people the chilling sensation of falling straight into an absolute ice cellar. That woman felt somewhat irritated and angry. Yet the moment she turned her head to take a look, she was so terrified she nearly lost her soul in pure shock. Yan Linxue, the most notoriously famous newly rich female tycoon in all of Huaqing, a person known for her sharp, ruthless tactics and possessing extraordinary innate business talent. Over these past few years, the influence of the Yin family had surged with terrifying momentum, even showing a distinct trend of wanting to rise up and rival. Toe-to-toe with the prestigious Lin family, that woman, there absolutely did not dare to offend Yan Linxue in the slightest. Apologies, I genuinely had no idea this person was under Sister Yan's personal protection. Yan Linxue, I'm not that idle or bored. Yet that woman didn't even dare to wait for her to finish speaking. The whole bunch immediately tucked their tails between their legs and slinked away, fleeing in utter panic out of Fuxing Bar. Well, whatever. At any rate, the goal of driving away those pests had already been achieved. Truthfully speaking, Yan Linxue herself didn't even understand why she had stepped in to help out, casting her gaze downward toward Fong Ichi. Are you all right, Fong? Ichi's eyes instantly lit up brilliantly. She is so breathtakingly gorgeous, a style of beauty completely different from Tan Ruan, yet just as capable of captivating anyone's heart. Furthermore, those people just now were terrified of her. Her identity and background must definitely be extraordinary. Fong Ichi felt like he had just fallen head over heels in love. Tan Ruan must have cried herself to exhaustion as she leaned against my chest. Falling right back asleep, I gently placed her onto the bed, tucking her blankets insecurely. Yet only a short while later the little girl started tossing and turning restlessly, her mouth whimpering and crying out so pitifully and tragically, looking utterly heartbreaking. I furrowed my brow slightly and reached out to touch her forehead. She's running a fever. Uncle Tan grew extremely panicked, hurriedly summoning the family doctor over without a second delay. After a chaotic flurry of rushed panic and shouting everywhere, Tan Ruan was finally hooked up to Infordrip. Tanze wanted to ask me what on earth had happened today. Yet since he had already entrusted Tan Ruan completely to me, he should trust my judgment. Therefore Tanze decided to drop the questioning. I sat quietly by the edge of the bed, reading a book, when the system's notification chime rang out. Host, the male and female protagonists have finally crossed paths. Only the process wasn't particularly pleasant. I gave a nod, as my eyebrows relaxed instantly. Meeting each other is already good enough. At least it saves that annoying pest Fong Ichi from constantly lingering and acting as an eyesore right in front of me. Tan Ruan's ibebashadrip lasted nearly until 10 o'clock before she slowly regained consciousness. She opened both of her big eyes wide, blinking them continuously, silently, and warmly staring fixedly right at me. If not for Uncle Tan walking into the room, I wouldn't have even realized the little girl had been staring at me for so long. Uncle Tan and I walked over and sat down at the edge of the bed, reaching out a hand to check her forehead. The fever's broken just as I was about to withdraw my hand. Tan Ruan reacted with lightning-fast reflexes, instantly grabbing hold of it tightly, her pitch-black pupils resembling the most precious glowing jade, sparkling brilliantly with breathtaking astonishment. Tan Ruan gazed fixedly at me without even blinking once, her fingers gripping tightly onto my hand, her soft face still radiating a lingering warmth. as she rubbed it rhythmically against the palm of my hand. Standing nearby, Tanzay waited eagerly with weary eyes, hoping his daughter would spare him a single glance. Knowing better than to stick around and disturb them, he glanced sideways at Tan Ruan and me before reluctantly stepping outside with lingering hesitation. Other people's daughters are their father's precious little padded jackets. Yet, right here with Tan Ruan, her eyes had never contained this father of hers right from the start. Her cheeks were extraordinarily soft, unable to resist the urge. I casually pinched her cheek when the little girl suddenly pouted from the sudden sting, making Tan Ruan wince in pain. She widened her eyes to glare at me, while I shot a glare right back at her for a moment. Tan Ruan then pushed herself up into a sitting position. Acting excessively clingy as she leaned her face closer, I looked at her, with a hint of puzzled confusion showing in my expression, as she reached out to grab my hand, pressing it directly against her own cheek. Pinching your cheeks hurts, doesn't it? Why are you letting Big Brother pinch you again? Just now didn't you frown? Tan Ruan loret her gazet donwert, nestling aggrievedly into my arms. It doesn't matter at all, as long as Big Brother Chun likes it. Since you pinched me, then Big Brother Chun can't ever leave me again. Okay, humph. I stood there momentarily stunned before raising a hand to cup her chin, staring straight into Ruan's eyes. I'm not going anywhere ever again. The system felt utterly baffled and sighed out loud, saying, Hesse, could it be that after this whole ordeal, this final fragment has finally grown up at last, becoming sensible and maturing into an adult now? I couldn't be bothered to pay a single shred of attention to the system, and when it received no response from me, it didn't feel awkward in the slightest, while its round little spherical avatar floated about, and the little assistant worriedly huddled quietly inside the spatial dimension. Tell me, isn't that right? My buddy, the little assistant, suddenly let out a yelp of surprise, giving the system a sudden fright. You're being way too fierce, as I gently rubbed Tan Ruan's cheeks again. Get some proper rest. Now you're about to get caught. Tan Ruan looked at me with soft, teary eyes, wanting Big Brother Chun to stay right by my side as I looked down from above at Ruan. You're already over 18 years old now. You're a fully grown young lady already. Tan Ruan pretended not to understand a single word, blinking her eyes continuously as she called out Brother Chun. Keeping my expression completely unchanged, I reached out my hand and covered her mouth tightly shut, spreading my legs apart as I decisively climbed straight up onto the bed. Tan Ruan looked completely fulfilled as she snuggled closer to Big Brother Chun. Shut your mouth right now, Tan Ruan. If Ruan dares to speak another word, I'm going to kiss you right now. Tan Ruan pressed her lips tightly together, looking exceptionally pitiful and aggrieved. For quite a long time, I didn't even look at her, causing the little girl's expression to droop as she softly flipped over and mumbled in a tiny voice. Brother Chun, right at that exact moment, my warm arm wrapped around Tan Ruan as she snuggled snugly right into my embrace. Sleep tight. The next morning, the moment I woke up, I was hastily dragged away by a flustered and rushed Tanzay. The two of us sat together inside the study room. Tanzay's facial expression was dead serious as the market opened up. I looked back at him with an utterly calm and unbothered demeanor. Yes. He took in a deep breath, trying hard to force himself to calm down a little bit. Big Brother Chun, you've struck it rich. Uncle bought a total of over 80 million yuan worth, and every single one of them has completely reversed and surged. That stock ticker yesterday around 12 noon suddenly erupted with ferocious momentum, shooting straight up, skyrocketing crazily all the way until the market opened up today, completely crushing all the stocks you recommended yesterday. Tanzay looked right at me and asked, how on earth did you pull that off? It must be because I just got lucky, I suppose. Tanzay simply treated it as me making a casual joke. So when does Big Brother Chun plan to cash out and sell? I pondered for 2 seconds. Right now, please. Certainly an adorable and polite young lad like you. Who could possibly say no to that? So I immediately dumped all those stocks onto the market, tripling my profits. Right now, I'm definitely a wealthy little boss without a doubt. For over a month now, Ruan has finally been able to slowly and obediently sit by herself inside the living room. Yet whenever someone walks past, she still feels a lingering sense of fear. I don't mind either way if she can't be cured then, so be it. Tanze's company has been rather busy lately. He hasn't returned home for several days in a row. Xiang Yin was filled with nervous anxiety all day long. Turning to ask Feng Ichi darling, tell me, since your father hasn't come home for so many days, could it be that he has someone else outside? The system couldn't hold it in and rolled its eyes in utter contempt. If it weren't for this reincarnated jinx like you causing trouble, would your future father-in-law be stressing his head off? And exhausting himself like that, why would you even suggest he has someone else? As if, mother. You can't just go blabbing and asking things so bluntly right in front of your own son like that. Why wouldn't I before?